Hello and welcome. Today we're going to talk about the iPod, specifically what you need as an absolute minimum to have an iPod and to use it and to enjoy it on a daily basis. One thing you're going to need for all of them, except for maybe the touch, is a computer. This is just an old HP computer. Nothing special. Just an old, but you can have Apple or Windows, doesn't matter. I just happen to have Windows. So this is what you're gonna need for all of your iPods except for maybe the touch. You're also gonna need wired earphones. These are just some old Apple earpods. They're wired, but except for the touch and the 7th generation Nano, you have to have wired earphones. This is just minimum. This is and then also music. You have to have music. This is an Apple gift card. You can use it on iTunes to buy songs for $1.29 to put music on your iPod, or if you have physical CDs or records or tapes and you can convert them to MP3 files, then that's good for you. So you have to have at least these things minimum. Now let's get into the original iPod line called the Classic. So here's a view of the iPod lineup. Right, so this is the first generation iPod. Came out in 2001. Steve Jobs introduced it. Came in 5 gigabytes. This is the 7th generation iPod Classic, 160 gigabytes. And then you've got 6 generations in between there. So if you want to buy the 1st or 2nd generation iPod, you have to have, see, it's got a FireWire port. You have to have a FireWire to FireWire cable along with a FireWire USB plug. You have to have that, 1st and 2nd generation. This plugs into here, which plugs into here, or you can plug it into an old Apple computer and sync it. But this is, you have to have this along with these things minimum for the 1st and 2nd generation. Now, for the 3rd generation, which looks like this was a touch sensitive wheel with the buttons on top. You have to have these things and a 30-pin to FireWire, so you can, and a FireWire plug, so you can plug it in, because this would only charge over FireWire. Then you would need a 30-pin to USB-A, and actually I was poking around on the internet, and I put it up on the screen here, there's a USB-C to 30-pin dock connector I found on Elite Obsolete Electronics website, which they're not sponsored, I just found it and thought it was cool. But if you got a 3rd gen, you need this to charge it and this to sync it. Now, if you've got a 4th generation iPod or later, you still need these and this. And then a brick, a little USB-A brick to plug it into the wall, and then it would just plug into here. So, and then all the way to the 7th generation, the same thing. Now also keep in mind, this is from 2001. This is from 2011 or not, I don't know. I don't remember exactly when it is. These batteries are old. Okay, they're not going to hold a charge. You're going to have to get into them. Easy to get into, very, 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 very difficult. The 6th and 7th generation that have aluminum, you can tell them apart from the older ones. The 5th generation is everyone's favorite. So this is the minimum of what you're going to need, for this lineup. Now let's move on to the next generation, which was the iPod Mini. Now the iPod Mini can be charged, I think at least the first generation can be charged with the Firewire cable, but it also can be charged with this, the USB-A to 30 pin. So minimum, you're gonna need a computer, wired headphones, some music, and a 30 pin dock connector to use one of these to sync it, to charge it. And the difference is the first generation, this is gold. So I know this is a first generation, but the text on the click wheel does not match like on this one. This is blue with blue text. And also on the back, you've got, it's either 4 or 6 gigabyte. This was only 4 and they didn't have that. So this is the mini, and compared to like the 5th generation, you see how small it is. I really like the mini, but that's a different story. That's another story. Okay, so for the minis, you need this. Now, next up are the nanos. So here you've got the first generation nano, the second generation nano, the third one was like a little square, 4th and 5th are very similar, the 6th and the 7th, I'll put pictures of those up on the screen. Again, these take the 30 pin dock connector. So minimum, you're gonna need this and this. Now on the 7th generation, which I don't have here with me, that was the only one that took lightning. So the 7th generation nano would take lightning. So you would need this instead of this, but minimum, this is what you would need if you have a nano. Now let's move on to the shuffles. So you got the first generation, second generation, third generation, and 4th generation. Again, you're still gonna need computer, earbuds, and music. Now with the first generation shuffle, you actually don't need anything else. It has a built-in USB-A with the 1 gigabyte or the 512 megabyte stamp on it. And you know, that'll just plug directly into this. If I got it right, yep. Or right into your computer. So you really don't need anything with this. Now the second generation shuffle, you need this dock, which has USB-A where it can plug in to the brick or the computer. And then you would put the headphone jack into there like that. And then this little light would light up to let you know that it was charging or syncing. Now, come back to the third in just a second. The 3rd and 4th generation, you need this little cute USB-A to headphone jack plug. So again, you can plug it into here, plug it into that or into the computer, and it would charge it and sync it that way. Now for these 3, any wired headphones will do, doesn't matter, because they all have buttons. This one, on the other hand, takes special earbuds, and they're not these. This is the EarPods, and it has the remote clicker on it, but it doesn't do anything. When you plug it in, nothing happens. You have to have the old style earbuds, and I'll put them on the screen, that the earphones are kind of round. These came out with the iPhone 4S, and it also came out with the iPod Shuffle 3rd generation. So without those, this won't work unless you have one of these, which is very rare. It's another rarity. But this would plug into here and essentially would add buttons back. Then you could put whatever headphone you want and do it. But you know, for the iPods shuffles, except you're gonna need all this, except for the 3rd generation, you need a special headphone. So you'll find these all day long on eBay without the headphones, but you know, come with the cord, but without the headphones, that's useless. Then, okay, so last up, Apple made the iPod Touch. This is an iPhone 6, but just pretend with me because I don't have one of those. But the iPod Touch, there were like 7, 8 generations of them. I'm not sure. So that, the earlier ones, I'm not sure when they changed over, would use the 30-pin dock connector. So you would need this to charge it and sync it over a computer, but you could also do it wirelessly, just like you can your iPhone. And then later ones had the lightning. So you could use a lightning to charge it and sync it. Again, you could sync it wirelessly if you want. Now the earphones, you could use wired earphones because they did have a 3.5mm jack. You could use Bluetooth earphones or just use the built-in speaker. You didn't necessarily need a computer because you could do everything over the phone, but you still need music, some way to get music on it. So that's where this would come in. So hopefully that helps you to understand you're not just buying just an iPod. You need at least a handful of items to go with it. Whether that's the Classic or the Mini or the Nano or the Shuffle or the Touch. You can't just buy these by themselves. You have to have a few accessories. And this is just the absolute minimum you need to get it running. If you want to buy a case or some sort of other external accessory, there are a million of them out there, go for it. But if you want to just have the iPod and listen to it and put music on it, hopefully this video gives you some understanding of the absolute minimum that you need to get your iPod up and running. So thank you for watching, and I hope this helps.